Looking for scrappy and advent knitting ideas that aren't the usual socks or strappy sweaters? Today I'm sharing shawls, cowls, sweaters, blankets, and more that go beyond the obvious. These are the patterns that surprised me and made me look twice. So get comfy, grab your knitting, and let's dive in. Hi guys and welcome back. My name is Luisa, but everybody calls me Lu. I know I just released a roundup video recently, the one with festive sweaters you can wear all winter, but many of us love discovering new patterns, or at least I do, and I couldn't resist putting together this list of scrappy and advent-friendly projects too. This time we are talking about patterns that go beyond the obvious. Shawls, cowls, sweaters, blankets, and even a few small surprises, all chosen to make your minis and leftovers feel intentional and beautiful. So let's get started. The first pattern I'd like to show you today is the Color Block Shawl by Justyna Lohkowska. This is worked in garter stitch in sort of like a triangle shape that is lovely to wear and very easy to style. The color blocking keeps everything grounded, so even the most chaotic leftovers will look amazing in this pattern. It is simple knitting, but it feels graphic and modern at the same time. I love the change in direction the stripes make in the shawl to keep it more engaging to work on, while also adding a very interesting visual effect to this piece. The thin white stripes to space out the colorful sections look really good and make the entire shawl look more cohesive and intentional. This pattern uses 10 mini skeins of fingering weight yarn, either solid or variegated, so we can play with how many colors we want to add to this project, which would change the required amount of yarn, but it's a possibility nonetheless. Each section is calculated to use a full mini skein, so no leftover in awkward amounts, which is perfect for an advent calendar or if we are shopping from our scrappy stash. This is a very easy and relaxing project, perfect if you want to work on a few rows each day without having to figure out where we are in the pattern each time we pick it back up. This is a great option for experimenting with light contrast or subtle palettes, and I think a fade would also look really good here. And next up is the Brioche Adventure Shawl by Jonathan Tollow. This pattern features some brioche stitch with I-cord edging, creating a soft and squishy fabric. It only uses the basic stitches of brioche according to the pattern page, which means any newcomer to brioche can try this out. It is reversible, which is always nice for a shawl, and the pattern page doesn't say, or at least I didn't find, but some sections look like one color brioche and others use two colors. The two color brioche is something I've never done, but I've heard many people say it's actually not that hard, and it adds a lovely texture element to this piece, so maybe it's something nice to try out. It has an elongated shape, not being too wide, making it easy to style, and it doesn't take up too much space around the neck, making it look a little bit more lightweight and not exclusively winter appropriate, which is also an added bonus. This pattern uses between 14 to 23 mini skeins of around 20 grams each in fingering weight, using almost an entire skein for each stripe. Just the first and last colors use a little bit less yarn. This is striking without being too bold, and it eats up scraps or minis in the best possible way. And the third shawl of today's lineup is the Pasture Ridge Shawl by Lindsay Fowler. I hope I pronounced it right. This pattern features a slip stitch texture that is easy and mindless, which is exactly what many of us are looking for this time of year. But at the same time, it adds a design element to this shawl, so it looks well thought out instead of just a scrappy project. This pattern features a true triangle shape, and the sample using darker tones really captures my attention. It looks really pretty. It uses 24 mini skeins or scraps of at least 20 grams and one full skein of 100 or 50 grams of fingering weight yarn. If the idea is to use an advent, I think many of them would work really well with this pattern. Each stripe uses two colors, and the texture shifts make minis or scraps blend in a soft and natural way and prevent this shawl from looking like it has too much going on at the same time. For me, this sounds like a scrappy project or advent project that looks intentional and artistic at the same time. This is one of the prettiest choices if you want a calm look. Now let's go with cows a little bit to keep things interesting, and I want to show you the Candy Mountain cow by Twin Stitches design. This one looks so cheerful. It is worked in the round, and at the end the edges are grafted together to create the cow shape. And you start with a provisional cast on using a crochet hook. I love that this project mixes the relaxing and easygoing nature of working stockinette in the round with stripes and a little bit of color work to add some visual interest, but not enough to make it tiring. The color work is very simple, doesn't require too much attention, nor does it have long floats on the wrong side to be mindful of. This pattern uses less than 5 grams per color, so it's a perfect strappy project and very much advent friendly, and one full skein for the main color also. It has instructions for both fingering and DK weight, which is always nice, and I think it would work beautifully with a fade set of minis, tonals, variegated, bright colors, earthy, muted colors, basically anything. In this cowl, every color gets its own moment, which is perfect to inspire some creative color play. It feels playful and cheerful without being overwhelming. And the last neck accessory is the Traveler Cowl by Andrea Murray. I feel like every knitter who's been around the knitting community for a while has heard of the Traveler series by Andrea Murray. She has a few patterns featuring this knit and purl texture, and this is the cowl member of the family. This is a very easy and interesting texture, and this cowl comes with I-cord edging and slip stitches, worked flat on the bias and then seamed. You begin by increasing on both edges, then only one, and finally decreasing on one edge to create this unique shape. There are a ton of projects on Ravelry to browse for inspiration if you want to, and it is designed for any gauge, making it very versatile for any scraps or advent yarn we have in our hands. We can go from a fingering all the way to worsted weight, working single-stranded or combining a couple of strands to get gauge. It offers an extensive sizing range, going from toddler all the way to adult large, which is always nice, and it is great with leftovers because the repeating pattern keeps everything tidy. It also suits a wide range of palettes, so you can go subtle or bright depending on our mood. If working with scraps, this piece is very forgiving. We can work with very small scraps or minis using just a couple of colors or an entire advent calendar, or even play with the yarn amounts using more of some colors and less of others. This cowl allows us to play around, be creative, and just have fun with our knitting while also creating something very wearable to enjoy later on. Cowls are such satisfying little projects, and speaking of small projects, I only included one sock pattern because, well, socks are the obvious scrappy winner, right? And I decided to share with you the Bits and Bobs socks by Morgan Punnage. This pattern uses a beautiful soft texture that blends colors softly and makes every mini look intentional. It is a simple and small enough project so that by working 1 or 2 stripes a day, in no time we have a finished pair of socks to enjoy. If working with an advent, that means we can knit up the day's mini skein without feeling overwhelmed or having to work on long rows every time. This pattern has a little bit of color work but not much, and it's easy to memorize, making it very beginner friendly. The sizes range go from child to adult large, which is always nice, and this pattern uses between 10 to 13 mini skeins depending on the size and the length of your foot. We can use minis or scraps in just 2 colors or play around with different color combos, since each stripe only uses around 5 grams of fingering weight yarn at the most. It is worked from the cuff down with a short row heel. The pattern page doesn't specify what kind of heel it is. Maybe it's an afterthought heel? I don't know. Now for what I love knitting most, sweaters. I've picked 5 that make scraps look intentional and wearable. The first one I want to show you today is the Slanty Stripes by Emily Curtis. Okay, this isn't really a sweater, but a vest. But let's look at this pattern closely. This is a slightly cropped V-neck striped top that you can wear as a tank or layered as a vest. The front and back are worked separately from the bottom up with slanted intarsia color changes. The shoulders are joined using a free needle bind off, then the sides are seamed up, leaving a split hem at the bottom. The neck and armholes feature I-cord edging, and this pattern looks so fun with the slanted intarsia stripes. If looking for a spring or summer knit, this pattern works just great as is, but if looking for something more fall or winter appropriate, I think adding sleeves to this is a wonderful modification and maybe not that difficult to accomplish. Maybe adding some short rolls at the top here to create a sleeve cap and help the fit? I don't know, but I think it's doable. This is a great beginner intarsia pattern with simple color changes, and it also comes with video tutorials to help guide us through this journey. The pattern sample uses 5 contrast colors, but with this pattern, I would say the possibilities are endless. We can go with tonals, variegated, 5 colors, 10 colors, an entire advent of mini skeins, whatever our creativity desires at the moment. And this is a very forgiving pattern where we can even play with yarn in various amounts. These slanted stripes make a scrappy project look intentional and I would even say visually unexpected. I don't have an advent calendar to work from, nor do I have many scraps in my stash to work on this project yet, but I loved it so much that I've already saved it to work on this in the spring or maybe summer. I think I'll have enough scraps by then. Next up is the Vester by Crayon number 44 by Thea Vesterby. I hope I pronounced it right. This sweater incorporates a lot of colors without feeling chaotic, thanks to the white main yarn carried along the project. It is worked from the top down in stock net with color work, raglan increases and ribbing accents. This is designed for a single strand or fingering weight yarn, and each color uses around 3 grams of yarn on the body, so this is a great idea for stash busting, using leftovers, advent calendars, and creating a very unique sweater. It is a very easy color work, alternating colors every other stitch and working with just 2 colors at a time throughout. The color combination is the star of this pattern. We can use however many colors our heart desires and our stash allows. Its top-down construction allows easy try-it-on adjustments, and this is a brilliant way to make scraps look intentional and cohesive without feeling like there's too much going on. And the next one is the cutest sweater possible. The Dot Sweater by Pernille Larsen is a fun and easy to knit Fair Isle dot pattern working from the top down in the round with German short row shaping at the back of the neck. The Fair Isle pattern is charted only. I've never done Fair Isle, but this pattern makes me want to try it because this sweater is just too pretty to skip. Each stripe on the body uses around 3.6 grams of fingering weight yarn max and 2 grams of soft silk mohair to achieve a sport weight gauge according to the pattern page, so it uses 1 strand of fingering plus 1 strand of lace weight. This pattern is so scrap friendly, it would look wonderful worked from an advent box, maybe even combining that with leftovers from stash. We can play with colors in any way we feel like it. We can rotate between a few colors or go all out and use 1 color for each row of dots. I love that this sweater looks very cheerful, using many colors combined with this polka dot concept, but it doesn't look kids leaning, I would say. It looks grown up but fun. The dots keep it tidy and modern, and it is perfect if you have a lot of tiny leftovers and want them to shine without creating a loud garment. And I have included only 2 circular yoke sweater patterns since I know many people don't find it gives the most flattering fit. But they fit today's theme so well that I had to talk about them. And the first one is the Kintra by Rebecca Clow. It is worked from the top down in 1x1 color work, which makes it very beginner color work friendly, no long floats and just two colors at a time. The yoke is finished with raglan increases to improve the fit and short rows. This pattern uses between 2 and 25 colors, making it perfect for advent or scraps. The pattern is available for both fingering and DK weight gauges, which is always nice. The colors blend in so well that I can't even see where one ends and the other begins. It's bold enough to feel designed but not accidental, and you can do soft blends or a high contrast stripes, and both would look really good. I really like this detail, this heavy yoke with a simple stockinette body and sleeves to add balance to this project. Some people added just a few rows of color work next to the cuffs for an extra detail, and it looks amazing as well. There are so many beautiful projects on Ravelry to browse through for inspiration, and I think this circular yoke is a great way to add interest and keep the motivation high to work on this project when each row gets longer and longer until it's time to separate for sleeves. But the regular increases built into it will provide a good fit and create a beautiful and wearable garment at the same time. And the second and last circular yoke sweater is the Pokli sweater by Midori Hirose. This pattern features square motifs worked in Fair Isle, where we can mix and match colors or use just a few. It's worked at a loose gauge, giving this piece a lightweight fabric, but we can add a lace weight yarn if you have trouble achieving the pattern gauge. For sizing, it goes from 2 to 3 years all the way to adult 6XL. This is a top-down sweater with a mock turtleneck detail or just a regular crew neck. You can find many gorgeous iterations of this sweater on Ravelry. So many great color combinations. I've seen many people experimenting with pattern modifications, like adding a row of squares next to the hem, doing a all-over aisle sweater, contrasting color on the ribbing, stripes, many ideas to ignite our creativity. It's a beautiful way to turn scraps into something graphic and creative. Now, if you want something a little bit more open and layerable, although there are many great cardigan patterns out there, perfect for scrap busting and advent boxes, I've selected the Daft Days cardigan by Rebecca Clow. This is an all-over textured pattern worked from the bottom up using a slip stitch pattern. What I most like about this pattern is that we can knit a dressier version using just two colors like the black and white pattern sample, or if you want to have fun and use up some mini skeins or shop from the leftover pile, we can use many contrast colors and create something really unique. If going that route, smaller sizes use up to 10 grams for a body stripe and 5 grams for a sleeve. Larger sizes use up to 15 grams for the body and 7 grams for a sleeve stripe. The pattern page offers a lot of information on how many stripes on the body and sleeves each size has, how much yarn you need, so it's great for planning everything in advance, thinking about color placement, and creating something truly special. A fade set of mini skeins will look so good in this cardigan, starting with the darker tones and going to the lighter ones closer to the neck. That would look really pretty. Now, although this cardigan is worked flat, the designer mentions some testers chose to work in the round and stick, but details on this are not given in the pattern. If we're feeling adventurous, maybe this could be a good project to experiment with. This cardigan just looks like such a cozy winter and fall piece with a lovely texture to keep everything balanced. But since sometimes we don't want to work on another garment, I added a bag that is a perfect small canvas scrappy project. This was one of the first patterns I saved when I signed up on Ravelry, and this is the Whitbay bag by Wool and Pine. This is sort of a backpack, I guess, worked from the top down in the round and finished with customizable I-cord straps that double as a drawstring. The colorful stripes are hand-woven into the bag's body using a darning needle, so no color work required. It requires just minimal amounts of yarn for the stripes, so it's perfect for those odd bits of scrap we never know what to do with, leftovers from an advent project, and things like that. The pattern also offers many video tutorials to guide us through the essential techniques in case we need a little hand here and there. This bag is written for a DK weight yarn and for the accent stripes. We can basically use any yarn weight we have on hand, holding it single, double or even triple stranded. Sometimes we just want to use our scraps but not necessarily in a garment, or just work on something a little different, a quick knit sometimes, and this is a great pattern for those times. It could turn into a gift knit using leftovers, scraps, with zero cost, but also making something really nice, wearable, and definitely unique. Bags are a great way to use minis, and this one looks modern and very practical. Now, for bigger appetite stash busting, I've set aside 2 blankets that scale beautifully with leftover skeins. And the first one is the Travertine Throw by Margaret. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I absolutely love the pattern photos. This patchwork throw features alternating blocks of texture and color to add visual interest. The sample used 24 mini skeins, but each contrast color section uses around 10 grams of fingering weight yarn, and for the main yarn, around 8 grams for one section. After I finished my switch up blanket, which is right behind me actually, I promised myself I wouldn't work on another blanket for a long time. It took me months to finish the project and I was so tired of it in the end, but I don't know, this blanket is calling my name. Can you hear it? I can hear it. It looks so good and I have a thing for stripes. Oh, I really want to cast this on. I don't really have much left over to be able to cast this on, and I definitely don't want to buy yarn for another blanket, so I guess I won't. But wait, I have leftovers from my switch up blanket. But then I will have 2 blankets with the same yarns. Oh shoot. Yeah, that's not a good idea. Anyway, this is not the time for that. This throw is perfect for leftover yarns, advent boxes, mixing different fibers, whatever brings us joy. And from the pattern photos, I think the white rectangles are textured, but the colorful ones are just stockinette worked flat. It is worked one vertical strip at a time, which makes it easy to plan with leftovers, and this blanket handles colors in such a gentle and grown-up way. It is a peaceful project that gives you a beautiful heirloom in the end. And there's also another blanket, and this is the Excavation Blanket by Jenna Pihota. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. This is a free pattern, perfect for using odd little bits of yarn we all have and combining that with mini skeins and other leftovers. It is worked from corner to corner in a stockinette knitted flat, so you start using just a few inches or centimeters of yarn up to a more substantial amount when we get to the widest section of the blanket. The best part is that there are no ends to weave in, thanks to the fringe going on the sides. We increase until we get to the desired width, then we can either decrease back to get a square blanket or work straight for a bit without changing the stitch count, and then start decreasing to end up with a rectangle, which is what I did. I have my excavation blanket here with me. This thing is massive. I won't unfold it because this blanket is absolutely massive and it is a beast to fold it back to this size. I used many single balls of fingering weight yarn I had in my stash at the time and a few balls of some wine and navy yarns I had no idea what to do with. So I came up with this stripe pattern. Let me see if I can show you. I came up with this stripe pattern and worked my way through this blanket. I have more info on this little beast here in my project page on Ravelry in case you want to check it out. But this blanket is definitely made for scraps. The diagonal shaping adds a little bit of interest and the color changes allow the imagination to fly. We can go with something more balanced and structured or go all out with a beautiful mess of colorful yarns. And to finish, a small cheerful cushion that is easy, very scrappy and a lovely home accent. The Stella Quilt Cushion by Laura Penrose is the sister pattern of the Sweet Shop blanket, and there's also the Stella Quilt blanket. This is such a fun way to play with color without committing to a big project. The cushion is knit at a DK weight or Aran weight gauge in garter stitch worked flat. There's a video tutorial accompanying this pattern, and it is worked by adding each square to the previous by picking up stitches and working German short rows. The same thing is done for the back, and we have the option to add a closure flap, like an envelope flap. The pattern offers 2 star motifs to choose from, using up to 8, 12 or 16 contrast colors depending on the motif you choose to work on and how you want to play with the colors you have on hand. Each triangle uses approximately 5.5 grams of fingering weight held double or DK weight yarn. I think this is a lovely project to deviate a bit from all the garments and accessories we tend to work on most of the time, or at least I do, but also knit up something really nice that we can enjoy for years to come from the coziness of the sofa with a hot cup of tea, a blanket, a movie in the background, and knitting away on our next project. And that is my little curated list of scrappy and advent-friendly patterns. I hope you found something that sparked an idea and maybe helped you look at leftovers in a new way. Let me know in the comments what you are planning to knit with your minis this year in case you want to. I love hearing your ideas every time. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already and give this video a like so we don't miss out on future videos and podcast episodes. I'll see you soon with another video, and until then, happy knitting. Bye!